Katie Cavallo knew right away the email was a scam. As a musician at a Roman Catholic church, she gets messages from her boss, Father Steve Callahan, all the time. But the real Father Steve sends emails from his official church address, not from a Gmail account that spells the church's name wrong. The fake Father Steve wrote, "Katie, are you available? I have a request for you to manage discreetly. I will appreciate a swift correspondence via email." Katie was dealing with a flare-up of chronic Lyme disease, having a rough day, needing a distraction from not feeling well. She decided to play along. She replied, "Absolutely, how can I help?" And she began taking screenshots and posting them to Facebook, a total of 51 messages over the course of the day. Father Steve wrote, "I have been working on incentives and I aim at surprising some of our diligent staff with gift cards today. It's a surprise and you will keep one for yourself too. Please let me know if you can help purchase them now." He said he needed 6 gift cards for Amazon, $100 each, to scratch off the backs and send him photos of the codes, and of course Katie would be reimbursed. Katie replied, "On my way." "Father Steve, please let me know how soon it will take to get them. I appreciate it." "Katie, they're sold out. I assume Applebee's gift cards are a good alternative?" "Father Steve, you can purchase either iTunes gift card or Apple gift cards. Thank you. Please do not buy Applebee's gift cards, okay?" "Katie, they're out of both iTunes and Apple. I'm going to go with Chili's. Should be back soon." "Father Steve, did you get the cards?" "Katie, I'm so terribly sorry for the delay. My husband called and was hungry, so I used the Chili's gift cards to buy him lunch. I'm leaving now to go back out to another store to buy more gift cards." "Father Steve, how long will it take you to get the cards now?" "Katie, my credit card was declined. It appears that my credit card is maxed out from buying all of the Chili's gift cards. The store said they could process the new gift cards if you send a picture of your credit card. Can you send me a picture of your credit card so I can purchase them for you?" "Mail delivery subsystem. Address not found. Your message wasn't delivered because the address couldn't be found or is unable to receive mail." Katie's correspondence with Father Steve is a perfect example of loving your enemies, turning the other cheek, giving your shirt when someone takes your coat. We hear these teachings of Jesus today, and it sounds like Jesus wants me for a doormat. Keep your head down, don't raise a stink, be nice, whatever the cost. But when we situate the gospel in the context of the first century, a very different message comes through. In Jesus' time, the land we now know as Israel and Palestine was occupied by the Roman army. The local Jewish elites were at best willing to go along with the Romans, and at worst actively collaborating with the army against their own people. Roman soldiers could and did compel civilians to stop what they were doing to carry the army's packs. Tax collectors for the Roman army could and did extort and defraud people and get away with it. The Romans and their collaborators used violence, both actual violence and the threat of violence, to humiliate the people and keep them in their place. This was reality for Jesus, his disciples, the crowds. Do whatever the Romans tell you, give them everything they ask for, or you'll get beaten up, and no one will stop it. Yet Jesus proclaims that the kingdom of God is near. The nightmare the world often is not God's will, and God has a new dream for humankind, a dream that is already here even as we wait for it to arrive in all its fullness. Jesus teaches that you can live in the kingdom of God right now, even with the Romans breathing down your neck. How? By living an ethic of love. Love God, love your neighbor as yourself, and extend your love to include your enemy. For Jesus, this means recognizing your own inherent worth and dignity as a beloved child of God, and not letting the violence of the system turn you into a twisted, hateful, violent person. So when someone slaps you on the right cheek with the backhanded stroke that elites use on their inferiors, offer them your left cheek so they have to hit you with the palm of their hand, like you're their equal. When a soldier demands to take your coat, strip down to your skin and give them your shirt as well. That soldier will have to look upon your nakedness, and that shames them, not you. Instead of lending money and expecting to be repaid, trading one favor for another, lend to anyone who asks, whether they can repay you or not. Use your shrewd peasant wisdom to stand up for yourself. In this way, you'll embody God's mercy to your neighbor and to yourself. You'll respect your enemy's dignity and your own dignity. This is threatening to the powers that be. New Testament scholar Matt Skinner notes that when we read the Gospels, a question that should be in the back of our minds is, why was Jesus killed? The Romans could have silenced him, thrown him in prison, or shipped him off into exile, but they thought he was so dangerous they decided to kill him. And Skinner thinks this teaching of loving your enemies, turning the other cheek, giving up your shirt, lending without expecting repayment is one reason. Non-retaliation exposes the violence in the system for what it is, and that provokes change. Civil rights protesters in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963 responded peacefully when the police attacked them with dogs and fire hoses. And with the violence of white supremacy exposed, people who hadn't thought much about it were compelled to support integration. Jesus is encouraging resistance to the Roman Empire, the kind of resistance that could lead to the Romans losing power. And that is so alarming to the Romans that they killed Jesus for it. The ethic of love does not make for a safe, easy life. It is costly. It took Jesus to the cross. But when you live in the kingdom of God here and now, you experience God's abundance, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over. And that is the reward, not after we die, but here, now, in this life. Maybe you see what I mean about Katie Cavallo turning the other cheek with the fake Father Steve. I usually mutter a few rude names as I delete scam emails, but Katie treated this person with respect throughout their correspondence, even as she had no intention of buying him the gift cards. It cost her several hours to read his messages and compose clever answers, but she knew the more of Father Steve's time she took up, the less opportunity he'd have to scam someone else, someone who might be less savvy than Katie about con artists. And finally, the scammer gave up and deleted the email account. Katie stood up for herself with shrewd peasant wisdom, and she embodied God's mercy. And is that not what we've been doing at St. John's through our second year of pandemic church? Again and again, we've drawn on that peasant wisdom as we coped with constantly changing circumstances, and we have strived to embody God's mercy. Kids can't be vaccinated in time for Vacation Bible School? Okay, we'll hold it outdoors in the churchyard, and we'll do messy crafts with spray paint and a kiddie pool full of bubbles that we couldn't do inside anyway. Virtual school has made learning even harder for struggling readers, especially children of color. Then we'll start a summer reading camp at St. John's and offer children the one-on-one tutoring they need to improve their literacy. The virus makes it unsafe to hold the ministry fair in Kilbourne Hall. Fine, we'll move it out to the patio. We'll enjoy the wonderful weather, and we'll make a witness to this community that we are a thriving church. We even used Jesus' shrewd wisdom to address the big challenges we were facing before COVID and continue to face. A parish the size of St. John's doesn't have the pledge income we need to maintain the second priest we so desperately need. Okay, we can raise extra money for that and create an endowment fund to support the position. We found that we are more creative and resilient and adaptable than we ever imagined. And have we not experienced God's abundance as a result? Here we are, 2 years into this pandemic, and St. John's is not only still here, we are thriving. We've lived the ethic of love of God, love of self, love of neighbor, love of enemy, and a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, has been poured into our laps. We will continue to embody God's mercy in the year to come. And we know the measure we give will be the measure we get back, because we already have.